Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 211, and today we're going to be doing battle in the Gauntlet. And so, if you're wanting to skip ahead to the gameplay, we're going to be playing the Ezreal Seraphine burn deck. We're going to play Quinn, Vayne, Fiora, Tumbles, the PnZ Tumble deck, and then we're also going to be playing Elites with Quietus. Very similar to the lineup we brought last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm a fan of the concept. I'm not a huge fan of the Seraphine meta. Everyone is well aware of that. But I think in this meta, you have to be bringing both Seraphine and Vayne to the format. They're just both far and away the most powerful thing that you can be doing, and you need to be ready to ban one of them. And so I think pretty much every lineup in Gauntlet is going to be centered on either banning Seraphine or banning Vayne. And with the decks that we like to play, that leaves us in the spot to where we need to ban Vayne. Decks like the Vayne Tumble decks, and then an extension the various Pantheon decks, all of these big OTK with one big unit style decks are all quite good against the decks we like to play, typically Demacia decks with rallies in them. And so we have to adapt. We have to say, well, it sucks to play against Seraphine all the time. I know Seraphine's the best deck in the format. The best strategy is going to actually just be banning Seraphine, but that leaves us in a spot to where we have to just play bad matchups with the decks we like to play. And I think the number one strategy, the best strategy that you can take on in this format and any format ever, is playing decks that you like to play. And so with that in mind, we are taking the slightly less strong strategy of just banning Vayne, because that lets us play decks that we like to play. And so to take a quick peek at those decks, we are playing the Burn Ezreal Seraphine deck. We're hoping to kind of get a double dose of ban goodness with this one, right? If you're taking this onto the ladder, you're hoping that your opponent just mulligans against it poorly, right? If they think you're playing Ezreal Seraphine, they might mulligan into a more value-heavy game plan, and then we can just boom them with the burn. And then the second piece of this is if your opponent has their lineup built around tackling Ezreal Seraphine, they leave this up. The cards they're expecting to be good aren't going to be good. And so I'm happy enough to bring this one to the forefront. We've used it multiple times and just had it get banned every single time. And so happy enough to do this. I think it's, again, though, very important to be bringing Seraphine into the format, because if your opponent sees your lineup without Seraphine in it, then they just get to ban your Vayne deck, right? And so the idea here is they're going to say, oh, fuck, it's Seraphine. That's the one that we need to ban. And then we get to keep Vayne up and not have to push down into like the fourth best deck of the format, right? And so we're happy to keep Seraphine going. Here is Vayne Quinn Fiora. We played this one 2 or 3 videos ago. Quite happy with it. This is your standard tumble style deck looking to take advantage of the Darken Harp. The Darken Harp lets your tumble attacks work more successfully since your units have quick attack, and then in your more fair style games to where you're just using a challengers based Demacia approach, having the quick attack challenges through the Darken Harp is quite strong as well. And so very happy with Vayne Quinn Fiora. And then the last one is the Elites deck with Quietus in it. I was a big fan of this one. It's quite strong against the spells-based decks of the format, typically Seraphine, but also things like Lee Sin, to where we have access to Quietus to take down their early and cheap plays, whether or not that's Seraphine or Ezreal or even things like Eye of the Dragon. We also have the Stony Suppressor to come in and limit the opponent's spell-based approach. And so these PnZ decks tend to struggle if you're just throwing big units at them, right? If your removal suite is Mystic Shots and High Notes and Blade's Edge and just the little pokey style removal spells, they don't do nearly as well as you're presenting 3/3 and 4/4 and 5/5 based units, and then we're stacking that on top of using the Quietus and the Stony Suppressor. And so that's our lineup. That's what we're doing battle with today. I have checked if we paid the pay-to-win price, and it is good to go. We are premiumed up to the gills. There's a couple of epics running around that haven't been turned premium, but the commons and the uncommons all good. A lot of the champions premiumed and skinned. Feels pretty nice. Feels good. I'm a big supporter of the pay-to-win price. And so, what do we have going on here? We're going to come in. We don't have to ban this Ezreal Seraphine, right? That's the deck we're looking to play against. I like to stop and say, okay, where's your big like OTK style overwhelm me attack going to be from? That is where this Taric Riven deck's going to be coming at us, but I'm not sure if I'd rather ban out Taric Riven, right? It can do big OTKs with the Riven Sword, but not as worrisome as like a Pantheon. Whereas with this Vayne deck, or not, sorry, with this Gwen deck, they're going to have access to a bit more heal than I want to deal with, like both Kayn and Gwen being able to heal. I think we're just going to take that one out. Okay, now this is where things get interesting, right? I don't want opponent to know what we're doing with Ezreal Seraphine, and so if we bring it up first and lose, then they know what we're going to have going on. That could be potentially a bit of a problem, and so I'm not really amped about that, and I'm also not amped about elites into this Taric deck, though, but I guess we can start with Ezreal Seraphine and see what happens. Maybe opponent leads with their good deck first, and we get to play into it twice. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, things aren't going... things aren't going as intended. This was my worry. I think this matchup... I don't know. It's like... I see a deck like... whatchamacallit, the Gwen deck with Kayn in it, and say, ah, fuck, this is just going to heal so much through these like really aggro draws that we're trying to send at them, and so just like a little worried about that being bigger than us. But nonetheless, we're here, we're ready, we're going to start battling. We didn't have a particularly good start, right? We had Double Blade's Edge Seraphine. We're really looking to spend the first 6 mana of the game on units, and so we really need a 1-drop. And then we're looking to just curve out that first 6 mana. Not trying to play used Cask Salesman early, but a Legion Rearguard into a 2-drop, into a 1-drop and a 2-drop, or whatever. As long as we could spend all that mana early, that's the way we're looking to pull things off here. All right. So, interesting set here. I'm actually going to lead off with this Precious Pet now that we drew it. It's 1 less damage than the Legion Rearguard, right? But opponent's typical turn 1 play is going to be a Blade Squire. And so if we can get this 2 points of damage in with the Precious Pet before opponent plays Blade Squire, I think that's a little bit better than adding a Legion Rearguard and just trading with it. Now, opponent's not always going to have it for sure, but I think we're just a little bit safer here dropping the Precious Pet. Opponent may have dropped their phone in the toilet. They figured out the strategy was upon them. They say this bust fella is taking too long in the pick and ban to get to start roping. It's okay. I got all kinds of stuff to talk about today, so don't worry, Win G. There he is. He's back, and he has the Blade Squire. Look at that. Things playing out just as we hoped. And so, yeah. Oh, the Ballistic Bot. Interesting. I'm happy enough to take this thing off the board now, right? His common follow-up here is going to be the Rune Weaver. And with the Rune Weaver on the board, we're just going to have to trade off our Precious Pet anyways. But this does give us a little bit of protection with our actual better units in the background now. All right, he seems to be back. He's fished his phone out of the toilet. He's brushed off the water. He says, "It may be gross, but I'm not finished. I'm not dropping the game." Oh, out of the way. Okay. I think we've played against this before. I have a hard time putting like A, B, and C together when it comes to this out of the way deck. But we're about to annihilate it. Turns out when your opponent has 9 damage on the board, the last thing you want to be doing is spending 5 mana on a do-nothing value card. The opponent like really needs a lifesteal here. I'm not sure what the entire unit suite out of this deck looks like, but he's going to want to be playing something like a Pestermite? No, Pestermite's magic. What's that little guy's name? The elusive with the lifesteal. It's not what opponents presented here, so I think we're okay. But so this is the spot to where I just wouldn't attack, right? What is opponent going to have happen to them here? They're going to make these trades. We're still going to just follow up with Ballistic Bot. But the thing you're asking yourself as my wonderful viewer is, can I get back up to 6 units? Right, so say opponent trades off both of his Rune Squires. I know we're tapped out now, but going into the next turn, there's a very realistic chance we can completely fill out our board to where our opponent like plays Taric. And so that's going to give us the opportunity to essentially attack with like 8 units instead of attacking with 6. All right, he holds it back. Good job. We'll just make the little to big attack here. Should be enough to come in and close this out. We've got 9 damage across from the units, so he's going to need to spend some spells. We got 1 more damage in the ignition, and then 2 more damage out of the cask salesman. So if he drops a whirling death on us or something, then we should still be pretty okay in terms of doing enough damage. Got him. He says, "Oh fuck, that Seraphine deck came out of nowhere." Oh fuck, bust. Ezreal Seraphine coming at me. All right, Legion Rearguard. Feels good. Feels good. All right, back to the out-of-the-way deck. Not the highest powered of starts, but I think this is okay. I would kind of like to have a 1-drop, but if we're getting to bank with the Ranger's Resolve into a deck that has a bunch of 2-power small units, I think it's safe. Does he ever just get us? I don't think he ever just gets us. Let's drop in the Battlesmith. Right, the worry here is that he's just like slow playing one of those challenger things, and I don't think he's going to be capable very often. Right, we can still protect ourselves with the Ranger's Resolve, but another big collection of do nothing from the out of the way deck. That feels kind of nice, kind of strong for us. Are we ready to just start dropping spells? I think so. Let's drop the Stony Suppressor. Like he's not going to have another way to come at it. Well, maybe we can just wait. I was going to say, he's not going to have another way to just come at us with, like, spells, right? He's not going to just, like, get us with Pale Cascade. So maybe we don't want to drop the Suppressor at all. Like, I do want to get a Poppy attack next turn, but Poppy's not, like, really high-powered here. Right? She's not boosting. She's only boosting 2 other units. She currently dies to Taric as well. All right. I see the value, and I can't let it get away from me. I want to play the Vanguard Squire for free.
Today's the day I find that hero.
All right, Poppy in. She's somewhat protected here, right? We can hook Taric with the Petricite Broadwing. So, ooh, friend. Ooh, that can't feel good. That can't feel good. Burning the extra mana on just a cycle and no follow-up play. Uh-oh. Oh, friend. That does not feel good. Here, we could have protected our Broadwing with the Ranger's Resolve, but we're going to have a completely full board. I'm not super worried about making sure we kept it around. A little bit different with the Aegis turning up, but I think we're still A-okay here. He just spent 6 mana last turn doing absolutely nothing. It's kind of like that previous game to where the Noxus card, or the get out of the way was just way too slow. Okay, GG. I can assure you this game is now done. If you want my assurance, you can have it. A little golden Aegis onto Poppy. This is probably our last event to where we're going to get to play the 4-mana golden Aegis. If you're not familiar with the teaser patch picture, we can pull it up real quick. I'll give it a quick talk, a quick chat to what I think will have happen with it. But let's see. So there it is, right? This is just on the Play Runeterra Twitter. They've posted this elsewhere. I think it's just easiest to find on Twitter. Lots of buffs running around, and then the nerf pile over here to the right. On the nerf pile, I was pointing out, if you look at the bottom right, I'm trying to make my mouse cursor kind of go to it, but the bottom right on the nerfs, you have both Relentless Pursuit and Golden Aegis. I have to assume that after they've been nerfed from fast speed to slow and then nerfed from 3 mana to 4, the only kind of thing left is to take them from 4 mana to 5. And so I assume that that's basically what's going to happen with those two. I'm not entirely certain what happens with the, I'll just go backwards with this, right? With the Warlord's Palace, Warlord's Horde from action, I assume they're just going to up the countdown. Lee Sin, I hope gets a complete rework. I don't know the answer to Lee Sin, but I think these kind of storm-based strategies aren't the funnest things you can be doing. Like whenever it just rolls to like turn 6 or turn 7 and you just go, huh, guess this one's done. There's nothing I can do about it. It doesn't lead to the most fun play patterns, and so wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how to fix Lee Sin. You either have to rework him or you have to make his flip be like 14 spells. But they just spent an entire patch or an entire set dedicated to having spells that play themselves twice. And I'm like, somebody along the way had to have gone, huh, that sounds fucking good with Lee Sin. And so I'm really surprised he didn't catch a nerf a little bit earlier, but Lee Sin's here. I don't know what you'll do to Saga Seeker, either make it a 1/1 or cost 2. If you make it cost 2, it's probably just completely useless. Curse of the Tomb, I think this is kind of a preemptive edit. There hasn't been too many Curse of the Tomb decks running around now, but we've given them a go, and they're okay-ish in the level of strong. And so this is probably just a reaction to Seraphine knocking those decks out of the park, and then as Seraphine's gone, the double damage big overwhelm deck gets to come back in, and so I think that's probably a preemptive nerf. With Shimon Wind, Ionian Tellstones, I think this is just a remnant from the last patch when they didn't have the time to nerf Nami fast enough. I think they kind of put an emergency nerf onto Nami, and then they're waiting for this big patch to hit the rest of the deck. And so Shimon Wen, Ionian Tellstones. I don't know what they'll do to the Tellstones. I'm curious if they make it cost 2 mana instead of 1, or if they swap out Will of Ionia in the place of Homecoming, right? Homecoming hitting landmarks and also returning your own unit, as to where Will of Ionia just hits your opposing unit. It seems like, of course, the self-recall should be a weakness, but more often than not, it actually plays out to a bonus. And so Will of Ionia should be weaker than the Homecoming. Swain, I think they're kind of set with Swain having Overwhelmed. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go from 4 attack to 3. Tumble, I can't imagine what you would do to Tumble. I think thematically, if you want to tie in that 2-cost thing matters, the 2-cost equipment matters, but make that a requirement to Tumble. I don't know at that point. You might have to just make it cost 2, but I don't think making it cost 4 knocks it out of the park. And so I'm interested with Tumble. Fan Club's President and Seraphine, I'm curious. I think with Fan Club President, there's a couple of ways to go. You can either cut out the manifest and then have the manifest either be your factions only, or you can make it more expensive and leave the manifest as it is, or you can make it just random, right? So you, on play, Fan Club President puts a random 5-cost spell in your hand. It now costs 2 mana. I'm not really set on which of those would be better or worse or what it should be. I just think that's kind of what's going to happen. With Seraphine, I hope they just take her out of the game. I think they're going to do that thing with the factions, to where her card generation is within your own factions, so you're not getting just the random card from anything. And then that, whatever they do to Seraphine, is probably what also happens to Fan Club President. But I hope they just take her out of the game. Just you had to have known, right? We spent such a large period of time in like the Bandle City era where people were just sitting around and bitching and moaning about Conchologist, and the meme of Conchologist always generating the exact spell you need at any time. And the answer to things like Conchologist and Reggie, any card that basically costs 2 mana and generates cards, they took from 5 stat down to 3. And then now it's like, oh, we've got this champion. It generates a card and costs 2 mana. What should its stat line be? 5. Like, come on. Like, they knew. They knew. They had to have known how bonkers that was going to be just on its own. And then just having the ridiculous spell copying thing on the back end. Like, I don't know. I don't know who got a hold of this one, but they didn't learn their lesson from 6 months ago. And then all these other ones in the buff section, we can come back to those later. It just feels good to talk about the nerfs, the buffs. The buff to Dusk Rider, who knows what you got? I can't wait to see it. The buff to Bandle Tellstones, we'll build around it, I'm sure. But the big ones over here, it says Vayne and Gwen aren't like big buffs. They're just kind of like functional fixes. Jax's level up is supposed to be easier. Ravenbloom Conservatory is supposed to be a revert. And these other ones, I'm sure, are just kind of minor tweaks and stuff. But anyways, let's get that out of the way. I knew that was here. I wanted to give some quick thoughts on it. I didn't have a better place to put it because I'm not going to make a patch note speculation video. So here we are. Okay, so moving forward, moving on. I saw this Zoe out here and I was immediately worried it was going to be the Elusives deck. But this has to be some kind of like slow, grindy thing. And I think I'm okay trying to take our elites into this, right? Both Quietus kills both of the champions that aren't Aurelion Soul. The Stony Suppressor is good against all of that. I'm going to leave the Seraphine deck up, and then we'll come over here and just ban out the Jax. It is kind of nice having the Quietus be able to take down a large percentage of all this stuff, but I think this is an okay way to go about it here. Alrighty, and we're gonna lead off with the old burn deck, see if we can't get him. He says, I'm leaving up Seraphine, I'm ready for it. I can handle this, I can take her down. And then here comes the burn. This is a pretty distinct difference in the previous week, though. In the previous week, it was just getting banned every single time. Every single matchup, Seraphine got banned. Now people are leaving her up. It's interesting. All right, what are we going to do, though? Same problem as last time. We don't have any cheap plays here. We'll mulligan everything away. Thankfully, we found a 1-drop. Let's get to battle. And so I typically say this in every time we're playing a Legion Rearguard deck. You see a hand like this and you don't know what to do, right? You say, oh shit, bust, I've drawn this hand. Do I lead with Legion Rearguard? Do I lead with Precious Pet? Last game you led with Precious Pet. What am I supposed to do here? If you don't know, just pick the one that does the most damage, right? That's the easiest way to go about it without like min-maxing and thinking way too hard on it. So if you're not sure who you want to drop, just drop the one that does the most damage. Now with this, it's kind of close. Like, I think the rear guard's going to be the okayer one here. The typical follow-up play from opponent out of this space is going to be Eye of the Dragon. And so you have the choice of either playing the Precious Pet, which can attack through it, or you can have the Legion Rearguard or the Legion Grenadier and Legion Rearguard combo that can take it down in combat. And so I'm going to go for the kill here. I think he typically just doesn't block if his play is the Eye of the Dragon here. Wasn't expecting Disciple of Doran, but this is okay. So we got in 1 extra point of damage compared to if we played the Precious Pet first. Right, and then our aggros are starting to fall a little bit short. I think I'm going to have to add the Boom Crew Rookie, add the Precious Pet, and then we're going to be looking to open attack next turn. We're going to have to see what opponent adds to the board here. If we get to add 2 or 3 units to his just 1, then we might... yeah, I think getting 2 units in, we're just going to be playing cards.
I have my orders.
The worst thing that would come out of this is typically a concussive palm, right? He gets to stop 1 attack and block another attack, but I think we're still better off adding 2 units to the board. If we're just attacking with our 3 units to the left and then he gets to block the Boom Crew Rookie with Master Yi, it's a little less awesome. Right, counterfeit copies coming in, though. I wonder if he just copied his Ionian Hookmaster. Interesting.
There's magic, and then there's me.
I think he's probably trying to line this up to have, say, like a Twin Disciplines for Master Yi, so he can block and have it not die. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. That was way off. Patched Porobot was a delightful hit, though.
This'll shake 'em.
That's actually pretty powerful. Gives him like a 2-3 block on our 2-1. The 3-2. This is not how I'm expecting these to go. I think, well, maybe the Hookmaster does need to come into the Boom Crew Rookie, but
Good.
hitting a 2-3 was kind of painful. But as long as he's not picking up heal, then I think we're going to be okay. He's down to 2 cards in hand. We've got him to 7. We have 4 burn in hand. Just need to pick up a little bit more burn or a little bit of width. And we should be okay. But yeah, the things I ultimately worry about would be him having some kind of big barrier lifesteal kind of play, or being like, herder, I've got Victor and here's a lifesteal. This isn't the Victor deck, but you know, things like that. Interesting.
A quiet spirit.
That's the stuff right there, isn't it? Everybody just loves a good decimate. Oh, and he doesn't hook. Interesting. Interesting. Well, let's just let this go. I was going to say that the kind of like spot that surprises me with the Mana Soul Student is it does give us a chance to just kind of like outright kill him with Decimate if we get the bonus attack in here. But we lost it. Our Decimate is gone. I think we're still okay, but let's see. Mystic Shot coming in. Not a ton of reason to be attacking here.
Let's make a deal.
Alright, my concern now is a card like Deny, right? If he has a Deny and counterspells one of our burns, it's not going to be great. We'll lead in with the Mystic Shot, since we're going to hit with the Mana Soul, and that'll still get us to lethal, where if we play the Get Excited and he has a Deny, it's not going to work. Okay. It's like we do have the opportunity to just get excited now. I'll wait and see. The Caustic Cask should end the game, but with the return of that unit and activating our Get Excited caught me a little bit by surprise. All right, good stuff. So yeah, I had some big life advice for everyone out here. I've got to have a treat over the past few days being a homeowner. Got a lot of rain. And we got some water in the basement. It's always fucking annoying. It's like, I knew that it was a minor problem when we got the house. They'd done a bunch of foundational work, and typically out here in the Midwest, if you've got a basement that stays dry, you either spent like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on making sure it stays dry, or you just deal with it. And you know, our basement is fixed to the degree that it's not going to cave in, like they fixed that, but it's going to get a little water on occasion. And it's typically fixed by gutters. And I knew our gutters were fucked, but I didn't realize that the wife had taken the gutter that fell off, and instead of saying, hey, bust, the gutter fell off, she threw it in the yard. It's I love you, sweetie, but that was not the proper approach to the task at hand. And so as the basement was flooding, it wasn't flooding, we were just getting a little water. It was like I was going to check out why, because the reason it was kind of initially coming in is, if you're not familiar with the basement, it's the underground part of your house that you get out here in the Midwest. You don't get them everywhere, but they basically dig underground and you have space down there. In the olden days, it was just used to like store shit, but in modern times, people are like, oh, there's all this extra space down here. Let's put a activity room down here or something. And so it's underground, and then you have these, they're called egress windows. So if you're in the basement and there's only the one door out and there's a fire between you and the door, then you can climb out the window and not burn to death. Pretty novel idea. Whoever came up with it, you know, not the dumbest person on the planet. And so, but whoever installed it, there's just kind of like metal barrier so that you have a space between the dirt and the window to crawl out of. They put the dirt like right up to the top of it. They didn't put a big enough metal barrier. And so whenever it rained, people understand that water goes high to low, and then the dirt being over top of the barrier meant that the water went down the barrier, then it went in the window, went in the basement. And so I fixed that barrier to have a bigger one, but there's also a gutter right there. And so the gutter was ineffective because the wife threw the downspout into the yard. And so long story short, where this was going, as you younger folks are out there getting ready to move out of the old parental's house, you're going to move to the dorm or the first apartment or whatever, the first thing that Bust recommends that you go and purchase is a plunger. All right, you're going to run into that situation to where you took the monster shit, you used a little bit too much TP, and then you got a problem, right? You got a problem that won't go away. That problem just stuck right there in the toilet. The plunger, number one thing you got to get. Number two, you got to get one of those like multi-kit tool things, right? It has like a hammer in it and a screwdriver and a bunch of all the different little bits. It's gonna try to lure you in because it says it has like 150 pieces in it. Like, you know, you're not going for really high quality here, but you never know what kind of weird shit you're gonna need. Oh man, I love what you're doing here, guy. I'm sorry to have to beat you so fast. But, you know, you need a hammer. You got your couch from IKEA. You need the proper Allen wrench. You need this, you need that. You don't need a bunch of high quality shit. You just need something to get you through the day as you assemble your entertainment center or your weed growing station, whatever you're doing in college. And so you got to get that out of the way. Those are the two big ones. After that, I recommend a headlamp. So when you're trying to build your weed receptacle or whatever you're doing, you can see what you're doing while using both of your hands. And then after that, a pair of safety glasses. But this was all in mind because as I was trying to fix all this stuff, I had to make 4 separate trips to Home Depot. So get ready for that shit too. You watched that video on YouTube and it just wasn't enough. You came in, you had to watch another video, you buy something, you come here, you go back, you come here, you go back. You say a couple cuss words, you go back. And then at the end of the day, after you've made good friends with the checkout person at Home Depot, you finally get to finish off your day. Bask at a job poorly done. But no, those are one of the things that nobody ever told me. Whenever you're getting ready to move out, you're gonna go and get that first apartment or whatever. Nobody said, "Hey, Bust, go buy a plunger." You got to find out the hard way. Or you go and you get that sweet entertainment center from IKEA. You go to assemble it. You're missing a screwdriver. It's like that shit it'll come and get you. You're gonna be in that spot one day. You're gonna be sitting there. You're gonna be looking at your new table from IKEA, your calyx to store all of your empty liquor bottles on. You're gonna say, "Fuck, I need more than an Allen wrench." Fuck. Turns out that Bust guy knew what he was talking about. Oh shit, this is bad. Oh my god, and he hit the... Okay. Okay, well, this one's done. This one's done. We'll still keep trying, but it could have been okay. Like, it's one of these spots to where if you're able to take down the... oh, now you're just playing dumb cards? Oh my god, what a... Okay. But no, it's... like when you just hit naked like that with the guy and then just have Rek'Sai on top. I don't know, man. Go get your lottery ticket. I don't know if that 1.5 Billy Powerball got hit yet, but that's what I would do in this situation. Now we just have a million fucking fish fights and nothing to do.
Those who kill innocents are
okay. We'll see. I assume that like if we attack with Vayne, he's just never blocking with the researchers, but then we can start a fish fight to at least take the Xenotype researchers down. You're just so far behind at this point. Mm-hmm. He put the pike on board, but he didn't select our unit. Today's going to be like this, isn't it? This is what our today is going to be. Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, we still have to take this Pike off of the board. We can't go into next turn and try and make a fish fight play onto Pike and then him be like LOL death from below. So, man, it's like maybe this is like the spot though to where you have to be like, okay, well, shit's gone wrong. We just have to have stuff go right the rest of the way. And I'm curious if we shouldn't have just been playing the fish fight onto the 3/3 and just say like, we're so far behind as it is. Let's just try and force something into going right. Maybe. All right, that was the call of the pack. I assume we put the Rek'Sai back on top. Now he's going to be able to just come in and deploy all of these various lurkers. It's really tough to get in a space to where you can't play one. Probably play two here. Yep, okay. This is what it is. When you have a turn one lurker, no predict, naturally hit, and then turn two you play your Salt Fin, Snapjaw, and have it hit Rek'Sai naked. That's what it is. Yeah, go and buy that lottery ticket, I guess. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. The boons and the traps. Let's see what comes at us. I'm curious if this is ever just like full-on elusives. I don't think it is. The elusives deck typically plays like Teemo plus... what's her name? Teemo plus Zoe? What? Could be. Curious to see what comes at us. Puff Cap Pup. A lot we can do about that.
Remember, we're the ones who make progress happen.
It's pretty safe to say we're up against the Puff Caps deck, though. We're safe here, right? We're not very close to getting lethaled by the Teemo, but All right, then drop in the Castaway. I want to make sure that we can play a fish fight this turn, and so we gotta get the Castaway down if that's going to be the case. Pretty scary here in the sense that if we try to fish fight and then he has a Mystic Shot, we probably just lose the game. Do we worry about it? Maybe not. Let's just attack and see what he does. It's like this, the space here is it lets him then block the Castaway with the Puff Cap Pup. Really surprised you didn't go for it, but he didn't. Now here we do have the option. We could just go for the strikes and try and keep the equipment onto the Castaway. I think this is okay to send the equipment back to hand. Oh, just the second Teemo makes sense. I think that's safe. We'll have plenty of opportunity to spend that mana here in the upcoming turns. Okay, and the promising thing here, we're only at 11 Puff Caps, and so he's short of the flip with the Puff Cap Pup. I'm going to start blocking, because this unit's not very good. We're going to get into this space to where we have to legitimately worry about the amount of... damage that the opponent's doing with this Teemo on board. So I'm adding the Vayne here. The thing I'm going to try and set up is we want to get a tumble on the Blood-Cursed Harpy 2 turns from now. And so this is the way that's going to come in and make sure that we have the cheapest tumble that we can on turn 6. I actually want the Scout Rake here. Like his blocks on it aren't very good. See, I'll take that Scout Rake.
I've always been a fun guy. Full of pain.
I assume this is a pretty easy block with the Junk Construct.
What a mushroom.
We'll see. Oh, it just goes for the full trade. Interesting. So do we want to pick up this extra mana next turn? So if we say, put the combat reel onto the Forge Chief, just to get that extra mana, so we'll have 2 spell mana banked up going into the next turn. I don't think I'm that interested in it. The important thing is just having the mana for the Tumble, which we're going to have. We're going to have the 6 mana for the Harpy, the 1 mana for the Tumble.
We die, and
Let's just protect our Vayne.
interested in dying.
Coming through.
All right. What you got for us? He hits his portal, lands a Grumble Slug. We take 2. It's okay-ish. We're going to get doubled up on by Teemo here. That's all fine. Save the Scout Rake for next turn. Say, aye, dog. Here come the tumbles. Turns out the old blood-cursed Harpy's a lethal here. He's got to start blocking. Rip Grumble Slug. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to attack again. Say, let's get him in here. Let's get him in here. Alright, double puff caps. We only have like 30. It's not that big of a deal. What are we at? 52. Should be a couple damage worth, but not an ultimately super scary amount.
Release them from their pain.
I'm a peddler, not a meddler.
Alright, Vayne takes him down to 1. So, I mean, it's no guarantees here, right? It can be a scary moment. Seeing the burn spells come onto our units feels pretty good. Only 3 damages. Nice.
Let's get to work.
Well, we're going to have all these scout units. That's where we're going to start here. We're going to put the upcycled Rake onto the Forge Chief. He's going to have to block everything. Get a follow-up attack after that. I guess losing our Vayne is a little scarier than I was giving it credit for. I was kind of assuming we were going to have a tumble this turn as well. Oh, Jesus. God damn it. Alright, how bad is this? Okay. I guess so. I guess we didn't squeeze the cheeks hard enough that game. I'm trying to think if we prevented every single point of damage we could. There might have been a turn in there in the early game we didn't block a Puff Cap Pup, but... okay. Alrighty, on to the next one. So, what do we have here? I think all of our decks should line up reasonably well against Lisa and Fizz. In terms of these other ones, it's all Shadow Isles based. I think I'd probably rather take down the Kindred deck than opposed to the Elise deck. We don't have any like Mystic Shots to really interact with the Kindred, and the Kindred is quite good against all of our elites. And so, take that one down. Start off with our fake Seraphine deck. Whew, the old Puff Caps. Just when you think it's so close. Like, typically, the space you worry about Puff Caps is the second Teemo hit, right? The first one takes you up to a couple of points of damage a turn, but that Karina was certainly something. All right, though, as they say, on to the next one. Ooh, drew our Seraphine. Feels so good to get to play Seraphine, right? Feels good. Oh, and he attacks. I'm curious if we shouldn't have played the Legion Rearguard until after he attacked, because now he knows he can block with the Vestayan Disciple. Like, I would much rather the Disciple go back to hand and then him have to spend a bunch of mana to replay it. Like, without them knowing that we're bringing this deck, he should be attacking with that thing the whole time, right? He's never just going to skip on the attack with it. Interesting. Interesting. All right. We can get some friends on board.
Anyone seen any sheep around here?
Okay, he didn't go for a bonus health one. You don't know what he picked up here, but I would have been much more worried if he'd hit Pot of Pain as a way to have a 4 health blocker. Feel much safer knowing that the Shepherd trades with most of our units.
Fix my stage first or my lyrics.
What do we got? Salt and Stitches. We can do something with this. We can discard the Ignition and get that big boy attacking.
Got this from a side quest.
And then a Yordle Squire. All right. Well, we should have some time here. I feel like we can probably just grind a little bit with our Seraphine and our Ballistic Bot. You know, we have a non-zero amount of cards. Like, I don't want to count on trying to level up Seraphine, but she might be realistically close this game. Okay. This is not ideal. Definitely not good going into turn 5, only having dealt 1 point of damage to the opponent. And this would be like the last turn to where we could ideally slap down a bunch of removals or a bunch of units, and just be a little bit short. Lee Sin. Alright, let's get the blockers out of the way. This is not looking good. Ezreal. We got the we got the whole squad out here.
I thought you'd never ask.
They'll never see it coming.
Alright, we're hurting now. Definitely hurting. Do we get an opportunity to take Lee Sin down, though? Could be quite strong. Like, I don't really want to just be sending the get excited at Lee Sin, but he's just going to take over our board next turn. This is pretty brutal, having to spend 6 damage on his units. Okay. Oh, is he going to be able to double 1-cost spell into barrier? This is the way. This is the way today goes. Okay. Okay.
Best 2 out of 3?
Best 2 out of 3, Ezreal. Let's see what we can do. All right. Let's see if we can't take down the Twisted Fate Elise deck now that opponent's aware of the shenanigans we're bringing. I feel like that Lee Sin deck should have been quite a strong matchup for our burn deck. That was... I'm just curious how that would have gone had we been able to stop that Shimon Moon, or let that Shimon Wind attack. Just take it a little bit slower on that turn when we know our opponent's not likely to make a big action there.
Just need a second. We playing bilge rules?
All right, not the greatest of aggro starts here. A little worried about this one as well.
I can do this.
So drop the Boom Crew. It's like, if opponent has Vile Feast here, it's like, it's so bad. Like, I think we have to spend our mana this turn on units. Like, going into next turn and being like, oh, cool, we got this 2-bank into Ezreal so that we can play a Mystic Shot. That's not how you win any of these games. Like, it feels like opponents just kind of stalling on a Vile Feast, which is strong. Like, it shuts down all of our attacking for the turn, and so... Heavy Metal, same thing. At least we have an open with the Boom Crew Rookie if we want it. Another Decimate. This is one of those days. One of those days. He's gonna have. Well, I'd say if he had the Quietus, he would have already played it. But it's like as we play these small units, there it is. I was like, I gotta expect the Quietus to come in. So painful.
The world's a big place. Let's see all of it.
But, I mean, how much burn do we have? We got 8 plus 6. We got 10 burn. We're getting kind of close to just burning them out. You got to worry. I don't know what removal suite this deck is playing. Wouldn't surprise me. Typically, when you see Shadow Isles Twisted Fate, they're playing Go Hards. So that would give them an opportunity to gain some more health.
All or nothing.
All right, Steve. Oh, Twisted Fate coming at us. That would be our draw, wouldn't it? Just get the 3rd Decimate. So what are we at? 12 in hand, plus another 6. We got 12 from Decimates plus 6. Might have time just to do all that. He's not going to be presenting lethals at us anytime soon. Sure. That was a big one. Basically a gain 4 health for opponent there. Basically. There's the Go Hards as suspected.
There's magic, and then there's me.
Alright, got to spend this mana. So we'll use the Get Excited. We have the Mana Soul Student on board, so we get to deal a little bit more. Just trying to grind this down as best we can. Vengeance takes him to 13. What do we got now? Another Get Excited. Okay. Not gonna run this Get Excited out. The difference between last turn and this turn was the amount of mana we were about to spend. To where with this turn we can still safely just play the Ignition and not overbank 2 or 3 mana. Vengeance, sure. Also, if it comes down to it, I don't know how bad it's going to get next turn, but if he's going to, be presenting a lethal and we need to take down the Burgeoning Sentinel, it gives us a little bit of option in that sense. Technically got lethal in hand here. I'm not really excited about throwing away a Get Excited to send the damage to face, but we could. But same deal as the last turn. Let's Let's go ahead and just deal this 1 point, get the 3 bank in. Now we should be able to decimate, and then if he has a life gain spell, play the Get Excited with our card draw. Alright, see where it gets us. He says, uh-oh. I'm out of drains. Oh my god, he's got something else? Gotta be kidding me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Alright, we managed to secure a victory. Oof. See if the elites can't salvage our day. This is just one of those days, though, man. Like, if you're ever like playing one of these days where you're grinding through on the ladder and it just seems like everything's just going wrong, you know, it is very important to be able to kind of take that feeling and just be like, well, you know, kind of is what it is. We're gonna have some bad days. We're gonna have some good ones. Just try and brush it off. If you need to take a break and go watch football or play Marvel Snap or whatever you do in your downtime, that's fine too. Just no reason to just sit around and get mad. But here, I think it's safe to go ahead and open, right? If he's gonna have like the way that this turn gets bad is if we add a unit and then he has a way to grow his burgeoning sentinel and like get involved in combat. And so it's like if we attack and he has a way to kill our unit, then fine. He's not going to at least get 2-for-1 on the turn when he gets to say like block the Cythria and then follow up with a 3/3 block onto one of our 2/2s. All right, can't block the fearsomes, but we can put our tough unit in front of the little spider. Let's see what Poppy gets to do next turn. Hopefully she doesn't get hit with a vengeance. I don't think we can skip to this Broadwing, though. The turn is too good if we can get the Poppy in. And then it's not even that bad if he has to spend like 7 mana to stop her. Alright, Steve comes in for the shutdown, though. Makes our attacks not that good. Gotta get a little bit of growth here. That was strong. That was strong. I'll give you that. All right. That was a large pile of removal. I don't think we want to play the Ranger's Resolve there. We're probably about to get into a combat to where we can get just like much more involved with all of our units. And so if he's trying to get like 2 and 3 value blocks on us across the turn, I think that's where we want to save the Ranger's Resolve, especially as we're bringing this second Poppy in.
All right, team, adventure time.
I don't change fate, but I can see it.
All right, Fortune Croaker in. It's like we should at least get an attack with one of our unit boosters next turn. This is going to be the big thing, right? If he has the Vengeance for either Poppy or Cythria, then we still have something to boost our small plays that haven't been able to attack this game. Haven't seen that card in a long time.
No backing down.
The old Riptide Sermon.
Fairy's assistant!
Right, pretty scary collection of attackers coming at him. This is the turn where the tough is exceptionally good. I know we drew a second Ranger's Resolve, but getting all that extra protection for our Poppy has been pretty strong.
Let him think it's luck.
Be up to 6 cards with the old Twisted Fate next turn. See what we can do.
Gotta go with the flow.
to 7 cards with the Twisted Fate. Now here's where it can get like a little bit awkward. If he's going to play like a 1 damage ping onto Poppy, I think that's what he was looking to do. Right, we want to get the Battlesmith on board, but right, he's going to be drawing a Vile Feast or a Go Hard or something off of this Zap very, 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 very frequently. And so I don't want to be losing our Poppy here to a 1 damage ping while we have Ranger's Resolve in hand just to get this bad 2/2 on the board. No, thank you. No, thanks. Ooh, that does not get you far. It does let him block with his Burgeoning Sentinel now, but can't imagine that feels good. So here come the biggest of boys, the big friends coming at you. Ready, set, slam. Wouldn't be surprised to see him like block 2 and then fall to 1. I'm not sure how you survive the next turn if that's your angle. Right, we're gonna either way, we're just gonna have a gigantic open attack for the next turn, but looks like what they're taking into consideration here, falling to 1 and then just doing something next turn. But our Poppy's gonna flip on our next attack and give everything impact. So hopefully that'll be enough for the finish. One can dream, am I right? Ooh, he just lost out on a Withering Wail. Everybody's got impact, except Cythria. Makes sense. Okay.
All right, time to get serious.
Time to get serious, bro.
No backing down.
Many abilities, like we're playing the Path of Champions. Alright, GG. Nice recovery. Maybe we can take this the rest of the way.
You'll get me next time.
If things are going that poorly and we're still able to pull out victories. It's good. Into the final battle. Try to stop and think if I have any more wonderful life advice with you. I know I've told you some of those before. You gotta buy your plunger. That reminds me, I had the last apartment I lived in when I was in college. If you're like not familiar with things, like there's always a spring semester or fall semester, at least over here. And so the students will kind of like cycle between. There'll be a lot of changes in your apartment as people graduate, move on, whatever. And so usually every 6 months there's a big swath and change of residents. And so like right at the beginning of one of the semesters, it may have been like the beginning of my last semester or something, like somebody knocks on the door and I'm just like, oh man, check the watch. This is like 2018. Nobody knocks on any doors unless something is like completely gone wrong, or if like the delivery guy's delivering something to the wrong apartment. Like that's all you get. And so you go and open the door and check, and it is some like red-faced college kid just completely embarrassed, just being like, do you have a plunger? It's like, yeah, I got one. He's like, can I borrow it? And I'm like, oh no, whoa, slow down. There's no borrowing a plunger, okay? You can have it. And he's like, no, I'll bring it back. No, dude, I don't want your shit plunger coming back into my apartment. Like, I know that it's like technically still all clean and stuff, but our shits don't need to like merge and then just leave this shitty plunger hanging out in the apartment forever. I'm just like, no, you can have it. I've got one for you. Like, it had to be embarrassing enough to just come knock on the stranger's door and just be like, hey, I took a massive shit and it won't go down. Do you have the tool to fix that? I'll bring it back. No, thanks. You can hang on to it. Never saw that person again. I don't know if they just tried to avoid me. I'm not a big social guy anyways, but I never saw that person again after that. But here into these games, it's kind of interesting. Like, I'm leaving Seraphine up, but you see Alawi Bard over here, and it's like, I think we can take on Alawi Bard, and I'm especially interested in taking it on with the elites. And so it feels like kind of bad just banning out this Katarina Twisted Fate deck. I don't know what it is, but it's probably some kind of like Riptide Rexy control deck kind of thing, right? So let's just ban it. Just before the day's over, I want to play a Quietus on an Alawi, and I think that'll make us feel pretty good. Oh man, I remember the last thing, and so we've done a lot of plunger talk, a lot of home repair talk. The last one, we're getting ready to come up on Thanksgiving, and I give this recommendation out a lot. Like, it sucks to go to Thanksgiving, and if you're not familiar with that, this is an American holiday where you just eat food until you hate yourself, and then you watch football the rest of the day. Depending on your family and how you all do things, you might also get excessively drunk. But the general thought is to just get American level fat, and the problem with trying to do that is you show up and there's just not any food that you want to eat. Like, I don't like ham. Ham sucks. Turkey is okay, but I don't want to eat like a ton of turkey. And then out here in the Midwest, they make a bunch of shitty food. There's a thing out here called like green bean casserole, where it's like you get a can of soup and pour it on green beans and then put some crunchy shit on top and call it a day. It's as nasty as it fucking sounds. And so it's just a big collection of terrible food. And so what I recommend is you pick like one side dish that you really like and you perfect it, and then you bring it to everything. And so for me, the thing that I have worked on is deviled eggs. And if you're not familiar with deviled eggs, I don't know if you all have these in Europe or in Brazil or wherever you're listening from, but you hard boil eggs, right? It's where you take eggs and boil them. And then you take the yellow part and put it in a bowl. And then you put in a bunch of mayonnaise and mustard and vinegar. And then you mix it all together. And then you pour it back into the eggs. It's fucking fantastic. One of the greatest dishes ever invented. And I wholeheartedly love it and approve of it. But a lot of people will make it wrong. They'll make it poorly. You'll show up and it just won't be there. And so I recommend making sure that you have that delicious treat that you want. Make sure that it's at your event. And so I just make it. And in terms of deviled eggs, it's one of these things that has some good early and good late value to it. It's something that if you're going to a cookout in the summer, deviled eggs are wanted. And then if you're at a wintertime feast type meal, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, everyone also still just wants deviled eggs there as well. And so it carries a lot of good early, good late value. As we look for in Runeterra cards, it applies to the culinary world as well. And that's what I make every year. And so I have to do it for 2 Thanksgivings, for 2 Christmases. And then when you cycle back around, we usually do like a Memorial Day or a 4th of July or something to where we get a little bit more of those delicious flavors into our body. So you don't have to do deviled eggs. I mean, I know it's a good one. It's a great one. But I highly recommend the game plan, if not the execution. Then the thing I do is I start to branch out, right? So you've got the classics. You've got the classic deviled eggs that you're bringing to the party. You then need to start to consider, how do I take this to the next level? And I haven't found ones that I'm like super impressed with. I've done some of the no mayonnaise ones where you just use avocado instead. I've done some with some other kind of flavorings in it. None of them match up to the classics. None of them are as good as I would want out of the dish, but it's getting close. It's getting late in the season. You're trying to impress the vegetarian in your life. You know, you'll go out there. You'll take some of those French plays and see how it works out. But here, things have started to go bad. I was kind of envisioning a way where we would get to slam more units on the board and be wider than opponent. Their units have been a pretty good shutdown on that plan. Now Bard completely shuts down our board-based attacks, and then we have the Decimate and 2 other burn cards in hand. And so we're firmly on the burn plan now, right? We've got 10 in hand, plus the Ignition, plus the Grenadier, and this opponent isn't very good at interacting with what we're doing. And so I think we should have a little bit of time here in terms of burning the opponent out and closing out the game. The Precious Pet actually quite relevant in its ability to attack through this board. let's see. I want to play the pet last. I'd like to be able to open attack next turn with the precious pet. See if we can't chunk it in for a point of damage. So I'm looking to play the pet, play the ignition, and then win next turn. Changes things a little bit. This isn't a deck that has a lot of ways to stop us from playing a Nox and Fervor. And I don't really want to lose out on the ignition. Okay, I'm going to let this just happen. We're not going to be able to attack with the Precious Pet now because his dude is too big. But it is a valid target for the Nox and Fervor. Scary just being 1 damage short though. Gotta find something. Nox and Fervor. Almost there. Gotta find another unit to get it on board, but let's see how this goes. This is a little scary. Does he still get to rally off of this? I think he does. Doesn't get counterspelled by throwing away our unit. Oh boy, we might be dead. Do we ever get excited the zap? Right, because the problem we run into here is we take 8 and then he just open attacks on us next turn and kills us. If we kill the zap, that's going to be 6 and 6 and still enough to kill us. Okay, we'll let it go. So we need to draw like a Blade's Edge. Or we need a unit and opponent tries to be clever. Oh, that was brutal. The Riptide Sermon boomed us real good. All right, Grenadier. Come on, opponent, do something dumb. Do something dumb. No, pull it back. Pull it back. Well, you know what, Don DN Bandit? I hope you show up to your Thanksgiving feast. No one has deviled eggs. Yeah, I'm going there. I hope no one brought them. I hope you have to eat that green bean casserole. Fucking sucks. Sucks, doesn't it, bro? All right, this is the thing that worries me about the Ezreal Seraphine burn deck. As we come up against Seraphine Victor, it's a little rough, right? That once they know that they need to be like, oh, cool, I'm just going to hard mulligan for all my cheap removal spells. It's way, way, way different than saying, all right, cool, I'm just going to mulligan for all my value plays. And so once the cat's out of the bag, it's a little scary. I'm curious if we missed a point of damage against that previous deck. In terms of being able to get that win. It's always so brutal when you're playing the burn deck and your opponent's at 1. We did have a bad mulligan that last game, though, again. Like, I didn't talk about the mulligan in that last one, but we didn't have any 1-drops. We hard mulliganed to find one, missed, and then picked up a 1-drop, and that was thankfully enough to get on board like we just did here. But as you can see with this hand, it's really challenging for us now to spend all 6 of our mana on the first 3 turns on units, right? We picked up double Mystic Shot, Nox and Fervor. We don't really want to be like sending Mystic Shots at the opposing unit. We want to be just dropping units, making trades and attacking, and then sending the burn spells to the face. Might have to play the Ballistic Bot here. This hand is just so bad. But it's like if we go into next turn and don't draw a 1-drop, then we're starting to really suffer. This Grenadier is not going to get much done on his own. Picked up Rearguard. That's kind of nice. Let's drop it and see what happens. If we only knew the exact order of our deck, this would all be a little bit easier. All right, scary with the Eye of the Dragon. Let's see. Okay, it's like I'm fine to trade out a combat trick if that's what it comes down to. Maybe. All right, fine. And this is gonna make sure we spend all of our mana right the rest of the way.
technique is this?
Looks like he's going to be going for the Dragonling. It's not a 1-mana spell here that's efficient. I guess he could beam something. Is that what it's going to be? Nope. Interesting. Interesting. Saw that, just thought the drop border came down. The drop border would be really painful. Excite Crystal would be pretty painful. See what opponent does. We might be in the spot to where if he spends another spell, we probably need to Nox and Fervor the Eye of the Dragon just to keep that stuff off of the board. Let's do this first. So if he has a combat trick, we can try and take the Eye of the Dragon off of the board. Alright, he's got a ballistic bot of his own in hand. It's a little big. Alright, we're just going to be on the burn plan from this point. I don't suspect we're going to have great opportunities to get ground-based damage in anymore. So we're just going to be sending in the ballistic bots, sending in the ignitions every turn. Hopefully we can close out the game before he gets a big combo turn on us. We gotta get this one though, right? Our battles are done if we're unable to seal victory here with our ballistic bots. But we are kind of to the point to where we may be able to turn the corner just a little bit. If we have 4 units on board to his 2, so say we send a Mystic Shot at the tail of the dragon, and then we get a big open attack next turn. A lot of this game is riding on how scary Victor gets right now. He's got the 1 Hex Core upgrade to really kind of lean on. If he hits a lifesteal or something, it's going to be pretty problematic. I mean, we could double Mystic Shot Victor instead of going after the tail of the dragon, but not a huge fan of that angle. Yep.
No one's the wiser.
So I think we're gonna have to play the ignitions. Right, if we attack with everybody, he's gonna... I guess is that okay if he blocks our big ballistic bot with his little one? Yeah, because then he can take down our small one with Victor. I think I'm okay with this. Like, this is our last turn to be able to get combat damage in. It's just going to be 3 damage out of the Saboteur.
Everything's in place.
That just doesn't seem good. We're not threatening his Victor. Okay. Burn cards it is. Just it feels so scary in the sense that if he like plays a get excited or something onto one of these bots and we fall so far behind in terms of burn. Now this is a little bit different.
This'll shake 'em.
Because everything we have kills his Victor, and then he didn't grow his ballistic bot, so his blocks with his bot aren't good anymore. Now the question is, do we want to Nox and Fervor right now? We're going to lose this Legion Saboteur. It's probably too greedy to try and take off the Saboteur. Like if he has another copy of Victor in his hand and kills the unit, that's pretty brutal. And I would like to try and counterspell, like if he gets a lifesteal onto Victor, be able to get like the block counter spell on the lifesteal.
I just sing 'em.
So if he hits like elusive and then lifesteal in the same like turn, we're kind of fucked. But at least as far as this goes, we're getting close. Okay. I just worry about getting like too far in and then not being able to play the Nox and Fervor. We have other burn cards in our hand. Alright, this is going to be big. This is going to be big. If he has that second copy of Victor to kill our 1 health unit, probably not going to be able to come back. We've got him to 7. The other thing, it's like, it does feel better to use the Nox and Fervor as the means to kill off our own unit, but if we're blocking Victor, we can just like Blade's Edge, right? If he makes a lifesteal attack, we can block with our Ballistic Bot and Blade's Edge our own unit. It's by no means ideal, but it's an option. Yeah, it's 6 damage in hand now. So close. So close, deck. Awesome. So he's going to get to gain 9 here. That's going to be enough to end the game. Okay, GG's. Let me end the game. Where's the escape button? So too bad, too bad. That was kind of a rough go. I'm not so much worried about that game. I'm curious about the previous one more so in the sense that, right? That's the big value in playing the burn deck is the surprise factor. And then once you get into that second game and your opponent's like, oh, you're playing the burn deck and we're not playing some kind of mirror, then your advantage is gone, right? So the deck is just not strong when your opponent knows what's happening. But not a bad set of games. Again, I can't remember if I said early, but this is going to be our last video of the current patch. I don't think by anyone's surprise, if you've seen my kind of tone and my chit-chat ability over the past month, I have not enjoyed this patch whatsoever. I feel like I'm in the majority with that sentiment as well, and so I'm really excited to have this new patch come up and shake up the meta quite a bit. And so I am still going to be continuing on with the Path of Champions playthroughs. I think there's probably some weekly quests that are turning up, and we're currently playing through Evelyn. We just finished up our Teemo playthrough. I'll be continuing that shenanigans set until the new patch comes upon us, but it's just I have no desire to like grind ladder. I have no desire to get really invested in this meta. There's not a lot left in the space in terms of just like brewing with random cards and playing in the normals. I'm kind of spent on this one, and so I think that's kind of the sentiment across the board, as you see on Reddit, as you see on Twitter. At least on Twitter, a lot of people have kind of converted over to playing Marvel Snap. I'm banned from Marvel Snap, so I can't play that. And then as I kind of like keep tabs on a lot of the YouTube creators, a lot of people have really kind of fallen out of making daily content as we've reached the end of the patch here. I don't think it's tough, like in terms of if nobody else is really hype about it, right? If you're one of those people that really like the patch, I see a handful of content creators on Twitter that really enjoy this patch. It's still really tough to get hype about it when nobody else wants to do it. And so it's kind of like a lose-lose situation for everyone in the sense that a large swath of the environment just doesn't like it, and then another swath of the people that do like it don't get to enjoy it because nobody else likes it. And so if your teammates and your play partners and your friends or whoever don't enjoy the format, it's tough for you to get real hype about it as much as you may like it because nobody else wants to deal with it. And so I'm hoping that there's an answer. I hope there's a way to turn things around. And I think that's what we'll see with the release of this next patch. And if not so much with the next patch, the release of the next set. I think there's a lot of exciting times coming up for Runeterra in terms of the big patch, the next set, sometime next year, the rotational things kind of happening. And you know, I really do love the game. I think this is hands down from a mechanics standpoint and a gameplay standpoint, the best card game that's out there. And so I have a lot of faith that things will continue to be good. But it doesn't matter. You're going to run into these formats every once in a while, and you just have to either just grin and bear it and grit your teeth and jump in there and just play it. If you're one of those people that really has to play the tournaments or grind the ladder or whatever, or if you're in my kind of camp as to where you don't have to play it, then look towards something else, whether or not that's the Path of Champions, or find some way to kind of get through the month. And so the thing I was kind of thinking back on is I do talk about the World of Warcraft problem on occasion, as to where if you want to release an MMO, people say, oh, well, I play the World of Warcraft. It has to have a PvP system. And then you ask another person and they say, oh, I'll play World of Warcraft. It has to have all of these immersive quest lines. And you ask someone else, you say, oh, I'll play World of Warcraft. It has to have a crafting system. And then you talk to somebody else and you say, oh, I'll play World of Warcraft. It has to have high-end raids. And you talk to someone else and you say, oh, I'll play World of Warcraft. It has to have dungeons that I can run. You talk to someone else and you say, oh, it has to have this. It has to have an auction house. It has to have this. It has to have this. It has to have this. And it's tough to really kind of like put into your head and grasp that World of Warcraft has been around for almost 20 years now. And those features have been built up all across time. And it's not something that they have here right at release. And so I think it's easy to kind of compare Runeterra to Hearthstone and say, well, you know, Hearthstone has a limited format. Hearthstone has Wild and Arena. Hearthstone has dungeon runs. Hearthstone has this. Hearthstone has that. Hearthstone has this. And you can say, well, you know, Runeterra hasn't had the time to build up that collection of features. If you want all of those features in your game at release, then this game won't be released until like 2027. And so, you know, you just have to kind of deal with that. And then the other thing I was kind of thinking too is like looking at the lands of Magic the Gathering. Like in the olden days, there were definitely sets that just were complete fuck ups. Right? Magic had to deal with the release of say like Chronicles, where they wanted to tackle the problem of reprints and old cards not existing in the quantities needed. That was a real shit show. They had to deal with Homelands and Fallen Empires, which were just such really shit tier power level sets that no one wanted to play with those. They had to deal with the likes of the Urza's block, to where as soon as cards were printed, they had to emergency ban them out of the formats, because turns out having a bunch of draw sevens and having a bunch of infinite mana combos, not fun to deal with. Then as the kind of post space of Urza's block, they released Mask's block, which is one of the historically weakest sets of all time, just to kind of sway the scales of power level back down to somewhere normal. Now in more recent and modern times, they've run into things like companions, which were completely fucked up and messed up the game for a long time. And so, you know, I suspect things like this patch are going to happen, and you just got to kind of, you know, deal with it for a little bit. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you tell your friends it's not that bad, and we'll have something new here soon. And so I'm still pretty positive about the things to come and enjoying it quite a bit. But nonetheless, that it's going to do it for us today. So, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.